Yo, what up? It is the 28th of June 2024. It is currently. Oh, it's 11 p.m. Oops. It's currently 11 p.m. on a Friday, which means I've officially missed the shops for today. Got a little bit more caught up than I was being expected. I was expecting. I've got all this stuff that I wanted to sell, and now I can't sell it till tomorrow. Look at that. Look at how great my planning is. That being not good at all. Yeah. Well, I have an alibi. I was playing a game all day. Pretty much all day. Um, I, I was thinking, I don't remember what inspired me, but it was something that I wanted to play the 1994, 3 maybe game Pack Attack, which is basically a Tetris clone except it's got Pac-Man in it. But it's a really addictive puzzle game that's got Pac-Man in it. And so I was playing that. Oh, and Cube's still sick. And that's what I get for playing Pack Attack, is missing that. Look, well, if you look, I know it makes me sound. I mean, playing it's not wasn't okay. A whole day is a bit of a stretch because I didn't wake up at the traditional time, and it took me a while to get up out of bed anyway. Like, still, but whatever, you know. I'm not gonna defend myself. Actually, Peewee and Cube are in this gnarly feud. They wouldn't hug and make up even after I cried and begged. Maybe I didn't cry convincingly enough. Probably not. Listen, if you ever get your hands on a version of Pack Attack, then look, take it from me, it's a good game. Apparently, it's enough to, make you play it for hours. It's like kind of, I don't know. I'd say it's more difficult than like Tetris, but it's probably around the same difficulty as like Puyo Puyo. If you've ever played Puyo Puyo before, which I have, and I like Puyo Puyo. I like when they have those sort of chain elements, and Pack Attack is a good example of that because it's got this. The way Pack Attack works is that like you're stacking blocks, but also you're stacking ghosts, and then there's like a Pac-Man piece that you occasionally get, which you can use to drop, and then the Pac-Man eats the ghosts in like he goes like from left to right until he hits like a is it until he hits a wall? I think it's like until he hits two walls. Like what? Basically, he'll eat in like a pretty linear pattern from where he starts. So the whole idea is you want to stack the ghosts in such a way that the Pac-Man eats like a bunch of them all at one go, and it's really satisfying. Hey boss, I've always wondered what kind of a house you live in. You play it like you're all casual. No, I'm not. I'm not doing this. Oh, he's gone back to saying Snortle. I like that catchphrase. I mean, Bacon Bits is obviously a great catchphrase, but nothing beats the originals. Yeah, I really like Pack Attack. I mean, I've been in a bit of a Pac-Man fix as of late, just in general, which is kind of nostalgic for me because, like, I'd say I first like liked getting into older games probably around, I want to say 2015, when I was still like pretty young. And I never like bought any retro systems or anything, but I remember at the time like one of my like I have like kind of, I guess, what you would call like maybe ADHD type obsessions with certain franchises. I don't have ADHD as far as I know. Maybe I do, and I wouldn't be too surprised. But anyway, one of those obsessions was with Pac-Man, and so now I'm kind of back into Pac-Man. It never lost. Last week I was crazy about Metroid. The week before I was crazy about Mega Man. I basically just cycled between being completely obsessed with specific games. Is that a... No, it's a mosquito. I mean, hell, being obsessed with this game is what probably started this series, except, you know, there's obviously a pressure for me to play every day instead of dropping the obsession in like a week. But I really, I don't know, I enjoy being like that, because it means I'm never bored, really. As long as I've got something to obsess over, I've got like a bunch of rabbit holes to dive into in terms of like obscure content of, you know, specific franchises and stuff like that. And Pac-Man's a very interesting one because as popular as Pac-Man is, you know, at least the original arcade game, uh, you would think as a franchise his games would be very well known, and they are generally. But like, there's also just a lot of stuff that's like pretty obscure, all things considered. Like, uh, you know, just games that are like completely lost. Maybe not completely lost to time, but like definitely not talked about very much. And arcade games are always tricky in terms of getting re-releases, but you know, Namco have been pretty consistently re-releasing, you know, arcade stuff for the past 20 years. It's basically been their entire, you know, first party output is just re-releasing old games, and then they publish like FromSoft and stuff like that. Hey, S Monkey, can I ask you a favor? It's a big one, but it's pretty easy. I need you to deliver a present to Pango. Can you do it? I'll be able to do this in an hour? Yeah, okay. Yeah, but Pac-Man's really good. There's okay. Well, if you ever wanna, you know, do a little fun Pac-Man dive, for whatever reason, here's my places of recommendation. So there's the Pac-Man Museum Plus collection. That's like the most recent Pac-Man collection, and that one's pretty good. It includes like a bunch of stuff. And my recommendation for all of the games in there is to just give them a fair shot. There's some ones that like I was pretty dismissive of at first, especially the like initial sequels to the standard Pac-Man formula, like Pac and Pow. You know, I was pretty, I guess, I don't know, not very receptive to them. But if you give them a fair shake, then you'll probably find, you know, something in some of them. And so when, you know, if you're pretty content with that, then you've got Pac-Man Championship Edition. But so the original Pac-Man Championship Edition is included in Pac-Man Museum Plus, but that one's not. It's whatever. It's fine. But where you really level up is Pac-Man Championship Edition. I want to say DX Plus, I think is what it's called. And that one's really good in comparison. It's got a lot more stuff and some great backing music and stuff like that. That game's really fun, and I think all of this, the Steam Summer Sale has like just gone up, so now would be a very good time to you know, get into stuff. Hey boss, you gotta make me a favor. I completely forgot that I sent to send Hugh a letter. God, everyone's doing these missions today. Alright, 10 minutes. Okay, well let's go to Pango first and then I'll go back to Hugh. Yeah, so Championship Edition, there's the Pac-Man World games, which are 3D platformers. I haven't actually played those games yet, but the original one was remade like 2 years ago. And I haven't heard anything bad about that remake, so as far as I know, you're pretty good to go if you know, decide to play that. As for the second one, which I'm pretty sure that one's considered the best, there really isn't any other option besides emulation than to just get, you know, like a pre-owned copy from like, you know, 20 years ago. Here's a delivery for Pango. Hey, awesome job. It's from Marina, huh? I wonder what's in it. Cake shirt. Going for the safe choice, huh? I'm gonna see if I needed a cake shirt. Because I'm sure that's happened at least once, like a villager has received something that I actually needed. No, I don't need a cake shirt, luckily. Please tell Marina thanks. Yeah, no problem. What else with Pac-Man? Where else do you need to go? There's Miss Pac-Man. Most people consider Miss Pac-Man superior to the original Pac-Man, but I've not played it very much. At least not in my memory. there's like a weird licensing thing with Miss Pac-Man, but for some reason it's still on Steam, like perfectly fine, and I think it's like $3 at the moment. Like it's not very expensive. Uh, and you know, for what is widely considered one of the better Pac-Man games, it's not a bad deal. Blah blah. Oh, let's read a little. I was alone again in my neighborhood watch. My niece is crazy for this one goblet. This team seem like two completely unrelated sentences. Say hi to Peewee. Yeah, no problem. Okay, I gotta find Marina to report back, but I know where Peewee is. I don't think there's any other gaps with Pac-Man. I mean, look, you're not going to get everything from those things that I described, because there's, like, a ton of stuff. And for the first, you know, for a lot of those initial games that came out, there were, like, a million re-releases of them in different forms. Like, you might not have heard of, like, a lot of Pac-Man games, but I can guarantee you, if they're made before, like, the 2000s, they probably had, like, a double-digit amount of ports. It's kind of insane. But yeah, it's a very strange franchise. I guess the most recent thing that came out was they did, like, a Battle Royale thing, but they're selling it for, like, $30, and it doesn't look like a particularly, great deal. And as far as I know, the online for it is pretty bare. Like, not many people are playing it. I'm gonna say thanks, Citrus Carpet. Thanks. I needed that a couple days ago, but I don't need it anymore. Well, because I decorated my room with it. No, I would not consider myself a Pac-Man expert by any means, but it's a pretty, like, I don't know, it's a very accessible, and I don't usually like using the word accessible because it gets thrown around a lot, sometimes erroneously, I'll say. But yeah, no, it's a very accessible series, just because that's kind of what it was built on, was being super accessible, and in a, I suppose, what would now be considered a rather perhaps sexist way, was like made to try and appeal to women. I don't know, like, it's not really sexist, but I mean, I guess because they lowered the bar in terms of difficulty, is what I kind of mean with that shade. But I mean, I don't necessarily blame them for taking that direction. It's just sort of a thing that has changed a little bit in terms of cultural, I guess, cultural perception. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, no, Pac-Man's a good franchise, and it's got a lot of stuff that isn't just the, typical maze stuff. But, obviously that also is the core of the series, so I guess if you don't like regular old Pac-Man, then, take all of this advice and probably throw it out the window. Except for the Pac-Man World games, those are, like, as far as I know, pretty, like, decent 3D platformers. Which, are kind of a dime a dozen nowadays. It's kind of sad how out, 3D platforms are. Because even 2D, that had so much time in the spotlight with indie games, as I was discussing, like, I think even it was yesterday, that, it's not, like, there's so many 2D platformers to play, but it's not really so as similar with 3D platformers, because I think because they're harder to design, they're more graphically intensive, which kind of turns off some indie developers from making them, because sometimes the point, like, one of the goals of indie developers is to make a game that's pretty low bar in terms of specs. At least that's how I see it, when, these games are coming out and they're pretty simplistic and easy to run. Obviously, there's a degree of just not wanting to make something super complicated to take up a ton of time, but, it's a combination of multiple things, I'd say. This monkey, you know what a tiger butterfly is? Oh my god, you'd talk my ear off about this tiger butterfly. Didn't see that coming. Boo-hoo. 3D platformers are really fun, though. If you have a good key to 3D platformers are like the movement, really. You could have like the best platform, actual level design of any, in any 3D platformer. But if that movement's not good, then I'm not interested. I just like, especially like momentum stuff has really gotten me interested. As of late, like platformers where it's fun to just mess around are so appealing to me, which is why like Mario 64 is one of my favorite games, because just moving in Mario 64 is fun, just like getting around, and that's like hard to do, I'd say. Like just the action of moving around is fun, like without even any design. Just like jumping around in Mario 64 is fun, at least to me it is, and I'd say it is for a lot of other people. Similar with the original Sonic Adventure, I find that game is very fun just purely from at least Sonic's movement. I can't say the same for the rest of the characters. The rest of the 6 characters, or 5, I guess. 5 and then 1 for Sonic. But yeah, no, I love the original Sonic Adventure still. Like, I just love, and I both, 64 and Sonic Adventure, I just love I just love the feeling. I don't know. Like, I didn't really play either of them when I was a kid, but they still managed to resonate with me in a way that I guess most people would consider, like, in a nostalgic kind of way. Especially Mario 64. Like, I feel like so many, I don't want to say significant points in my life, but just so many, like, I have so many memories of stuff, and stuff, like, lining up with my interest of Mario 64. I don't know, like, things passing me by just as I was, either playing it or watching it. It's just such a fun... It's such a fun game to just watch. You don't even have to play it, and that's... I don't know. I think it's... Even if it's like, I know people are like, oh, it's aged badly, and I mean, I don't agree with that necessarily. I think a lot of the things... I guess, in a sense, yes, it has aged a bit poorly. Okay, I guess, for friendship. Yeah, sure, it's aged badly in a sense, like, if you directly compare it to a game that comes out, like, now, at least a polished one, because there is a little bit of an ebb and flow to that. Hey, Buck, what's shaking? You ready? Rock, paper, scissors. Scissors. Bam, scissors. Huh, it's a draw. In that case, we should just forget about all this. Let's try it again. Okay, we didn't do that. Just gonna make sure these flowers are properly watered, and then we'll wrap up. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Mario 64. Like, yes, I think it's aged badly. You can't compare it directly to games made now, but just, I feel like that's mostly the technology. There's not really anything they could have done about it. And yes, there's archaic design in it as well, but I guess personally I've just found a way to overlook stuff like that when I come back to these older sorts of games, because I come in with the context. Like, I remember reading a review, I think I've talked about this, of a review of Harvest Moon 64, like, that came out, the review came out, like, not too long ago. The game is, like, 20 years old. And it was very scathing towards how, like, simplistic and, I guess, poorly it's aged. And I just thought, like, I don't know, when I was playing that game, I just kind of, I reveled in the simplicity, and I thought it was fun because of how, I guess, stripped back it is and how much more basic it was. But I guess people don't really see it the same way as I do. I don't know. I think maybe I'm too nice. I don't know. I feel like I can be very cynical to newer games and more forgiving to older games. I think I'm cynical to newer games because expectations should be a lot higher than what's being given to us, or I guess what's being offered, because you have to pay for it all. But you know what I mean. Like, and for older stuff, like I said, I think, there's lower expectations because they didn't have the context that we have now. They were stuck with older technology and older, like, hardware perceptions and stuff like that. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for today. Yeah, it'd probably be a better episode if I had have gone to the shop. Unfortunately, hindsight and pack attack, so that's gonna wrap it up.